What's up, everybody? Brady Fugel here, coming at you with a album review for Heriot's new album, Devoured by the Mouth of Hell. It was released about 2 weeks ago now, Friday, September 27th. And for me personally, this is a new band. I did a little research on them, and Wikipedia, or somebody that was listed on Wikipedia, described these guys as genre fluid or something along those lines. And I could totally see it. These guys have lots of different influences throughout so many metal subgenres. I think the best way I can kind of categorize them would be to explain the really two sounds that make up this record. Of course, you have the heavy stuff, which I think I can best describe as like blackened deathcore or blackened hardcore. There's definitely some prominent hardcore influence with lots of breakdowns. But between the shrieking, screamed vocals and some of the more ominous sounding note choices, there's a heavy blackened influence in the heavy parts in particular. And when these really heavy parts aren't just full on bombarding you, there's some more intricate, more somber, moody, soft parts that kind of bring in elements of alt metal, like something you'd hear from like Deftones, for example. Lead vocalist Debbie Go, I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name, but she proves herself to be a very versatile vocalist on here. She has some, again, piercing black metal style high screams, but she also has these really eerie, ambient sounding and moody, clean vocals. So that right away, plus bassist Jake Packer's more guttural death growl style of vocal, make this album very versatile when it comes to vocals. But it's done in a way that doesn't make the album too sprawling and like there's too much going on. These vocal styles all complement each other really well, and the instruments do that as well. So now that we have this kind of overview of how this band and how this album sounds, let's talk about style a little bit. And of course, the actual songwriting. One thing I will say is that the best part about this album for me is the heavier parts. If you've seen many of my reviews, you know I usually enjoy those more moody, more ominous style sections. But for this album, it's the heavy parts that really keep me coming back. Examples of this include the crushing opener on here, Foul Void. I absolutely love that ascending main riff that just feels like it's towering over you. And the breakdowns on this song do a great job of really adding to the intensity rather than slowing things down and making things more dumped down. There's also that awesome tremolo riff about a minute and 20 seconds in that sounds just so mean sounding. I love it. There's a more stripped back hi-hat breakdown in the bridge, and then the ambience in this song really amps up to close it. This is probably my favorite song on this record. I also really enjoy Harm Sequence, which kind of has a duality in a sense that there's the start of the song in particular is very hardcore oriented, and then it just progressively gets heavier and heavier with some blast beats, and you get this shreddy guitar solo in here that I totally did not expect. And this song closes on more of just the brute force nature of deathcore with its pounding double bass drums and its down-picked riffs. This is just such a simple but effective breakdown and a great way to end this song as well. Siege Lord is a great song as well. I love that break about a third of the way through when you just get that bass shining. There's also some really cool ambience to end, ambience. I don't know how the fuck you say it. There's some cool ambience to close this song as well. And then Sentence to the Blade might be the meanest sounding song on here. This is an excellent example of this band managing to be heavy while also still being intriguing and again not dumbing down the song too much. While this is a simple part to play stylistically, that opening riff, for example, I just love the mean and the dark and somewhat evil sound it has to it. It's simple but effective yet again. Solvent Gaze is just an absolute sludge fest. It's just so doomy, and those background vocals in this case actually really add to the aural space and again the ambiance despite it being so heavy. That intro part when you first get those whispery, echoey vocals reminds me of like on those ghost hunting shows like Ghost Adventures when they would listen back to the audio recorders and you'd hear like the ghost whispering to them and saying some shit. The song is very noisy, and it manages to add like a different kind of ambiance and mood that this album hasn't already established with its more just straight up moody and eerie parts. Rather, like the staticiness and just the noise, it just makes this song feel like a tornado swirling around you. At the Forest Gate, too, has some real twisty, turny, bendy riffs that I really like. I love that main one with the pinch harmonic thrown in there, and the ending riff as well is great. That brrrr feels like something's just crashing down on top of you, but it sounds so awesome. And the track Mourn, that closes the album actually, has some cool heavy parts as well that I think are pretty interesting. I especially love how it just fakes you out at the end with it just comes to a close with a cymbal grab, and then there's like a couple seconds of silence, and then it just creeps back in and explodes for one final breakdown. So the heavy songs on here are amazing. I fucking love them. And it's actually those more quiet, moody parts where the album loses me a little bit. And just to be clear here, I'm not saying anything on this album is bad. I like the melodies that are on display here. It's just that when you get that opening 1-2 punch of Foul Void and Harm sequence, and then you go from that into track 3, Opaline, which again isn't bad, but with its slow tempo and its kind of lack of dynamics a little bit, it's more of a flat line than the other songs that have kind of been all over the place. And it just really makes the album lose momentum. I would also give that same complaint to Lashed and Visage, although Visage I do like how it kind of ascends more as the song progresses. And the vocal melodies themselves I do think are really cool. It just, again, when the heavy songs are this good and this punishing, and they're immediately followed up by songs that just kill that momentum, it's bittersweet. I kind of wish that if they wanted to incorporate more sounds like that, those more ambient style sounds, that rather than having whole tracks like that kind of interrupt the heavy barrage that the heavy songs manage to do really well, I wish there were more songs that kind of did them in tandem. Like I said, the intro track, Fall Void, that ending part with the ambience behind those heavy sections sounds awesome. Same with the end of the track, Siege Lord. Again, just those ambience parts really add to the drama and the emotion that these songs were written to convey. Like take a track like Mourn, for instance. After you get past the kind of boring intro breakdown, you get that really mean-sounding riff, but then again, it's just instantly killed off, even in the same song in this case, by those more melodic parts, that chorus, if you want to call it that, with, again, those open chords being played and just the echoey background vocals. I think a better way to execute doing both of these sounds in tandem, which are very different sounds, would be to do more like I complimented on Foul Void and Siege Lord, where they kind of add to the drama. And then maybe throw in like one song near the end that caters solely towards that more moody, atmospheric sound. My pick probably would have been Visage for that, and I'd probably keep it exactly in that same spot on the track listing too. And again, it's kind of bittersweet because I love the heavy songs so much. I feel like if they swapped out Opaline and Lashed with two more punishing songs, this would easily be one of my favorite albums of the year so far. All the heavy songs on here literally are added on my Chimp playlist now. I just wish that I could listen to the full album through without having to navigate around those nooks and crannies in the forms of those just more quiet songs. I will say, though, the one exception to this is the track Solvent Gaze, like I mentioned earlier. Rather, it just feels like a bunch of chaos surrounding you, like I mentioned. But overall, this is still a pretty good album. Like, I've still been listening to it since it came out, even after I've had my thoughts collected on this review. So that says a lot, because usually after I review an album, I'm kind of burnt out of it just because I have to spend so much time studying the material. But I am hyped to return to the gym and listen to these songs yet again after this review. I'm going to go ahead and give this album a score of 24 out of 30. As always, thank you guys very much for watching. I have lots of reviews coming up, so definitely hit subscribe if you'd like to see more content. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this album below, so definitely comment those. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Peace.